Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our Backpack to Briefcase episode on how to professionally change your mind on a job offer. My name is Elise Newberry, and I'm a career coach for our marketing, sales, and international business students here in the Huntsman School. And Backpack to Briefcase is a series that explores a myriad of topics surrounding career preparation as well as career management. Today, we are talking about professionally changing your mind, also known as reneging. We are excited to welcome our guest, Duane Bernards. Duane is a division manager at Consolidated Electrical Distributors, aka CED, and is a Weber State alum. We don't hold that against him, though. In his time at CED, he has worked with many Aggies throughout the hiring process, as well as the early years of their professional careers at CED. Reneging is a controversial topic among many career coaches and recruiters, so I'm excited to hear what Duane has to say about the topic. His invaluable insights will surely help you navigate job offer changes like a pro while maintaining your integrity and professionalism, which is essential in this landscape. So, Duane, why don't you introduce yourself and take it away?
Wonderful. Thank you. Like she said, I'm Duane Bernards. I am a longtime CED employee. I actually went to work for them in 1985 as a high school student and worked for them all the way through college and then my entire career. For about 25 plus of those years, I've done a lot of hiring, including work up at Utah State. Most of my intense work has come in the last 10 or 12 years, but I recruited at Utah State back in the later 90s to begin with. So I have a lot of experience up there. Very few experiences with reneging, but a couple. So when we get to that point, I'd like to share them as part of my own experience and to help you be able to grow and learn from them. So I've got a couple of slides here that I want to share that are going to talk about two things, really. How to refrain from reneging to begin with, meaning you do a very good job in the beginning, but then if you need to, how to go about doing it in a professional way that allows for the best experience for you and for the potential employer. So if you could kick up that next slide for me. Perfect. So preventing to begin with. It's really important for students to understand that, especially early in the school year, it's okay to take your time and allow yourself to be able to go through a process to get to the point where you feel confident that you're ready to make a decision about your career leaving college. So be very communicative upfront, have many conversations, and make sure that you're asking all of the questions and being very clear that you understand exactly what it is you're looking at without there being any hesitancies or red flags in the early process. Ask for extra time if you really don't feel ready. I've had students say, can you give me through the end of the semester? And I'm fine with that because I really want them to be committed to what we're asking for. So don't feel like you have this window when they've first made contact with you and within the next couple of weeks that you really have to dial this in. It's a huge decision and lots of information. Other employers that you're looking at as well, right? Help them set timelines for you. Make sure they understand that you have a window that you're working in and that they're allowing for that window to be realistic so that you're not having to drag things out, but that you're getting all the information that you need early on. And then make sure that you really negotiate through everything that you're looking at. If it's 2, 3, 10 employers that you potentially may go to work for, go through that process, give yourself time for that process, and really be able to gather all the information that you need so that you're in the best situation to make the best decision for your future. And if you go through that and you're still not sure, you need to make sure that you go ahead and ask for extra time. Some employers might move on, but if an employer is really motivated by you as a student and what you have to offer and the things that they hope to be able to accomplish with you on their team, then they're going to be patient in the process and respect that as you go through that process really well, that you're going to be all in when you've made that decision. And that's really the goal for both the student and the potential employer, is all in. And you deserve in the process to come to the conclusion that the employer is all in on you as well, right? So sometimes it's the employer that is the letdown later on. And so it's okay for you to be very deliberate in your process so that that doesn't happen. So going through that way, you're less likely to be in a scenario where you realize later on into the school year you've made a mistake. You maybe ignored some red flags that aren't going away for you, or there are other offers that you just hadn't given enough time for them to come through and to be developed in your own mind. And now you've got a different problem. So if you can skip to that next slide for me. Perfect. The scenario where it really does need to happen, you need to go back on an offer that you've already accepted. You won't be the first one to have experienced this, but you can do it in a way that is dignified, that allows you to be proud of the situation and how you handled it, and allows a disappointed employer to respect you for how you've handled it, even though they wish it would have worked out. They'll be respectful of the process that you've gone through. Now, the one thing that I start with, and I can't emphasize this enough, is to make sure that you talk to that employer. It can't be an email or a text or a voicemail. That just, on a professional level, they deserve a conversation, and then just honest, forthright information from you for where you're at and why you are there and need to go ahead and make this change. So make sure that that's an actual conversation that you have. If it's necessary, and maybe it's because there's red flags that you're not sure on, be open to discussing those, and possibly you come to a better conclusion without having to completely back out of the deal. A couple of things that are really important, though, when you're really sure of it. The later it gets in the year, the more difficult it becomes for you to have the conversation, and the more difficult it becomes for an employer to be able to fill the spot they had tagged you for. And that is probably, for me as an employer, the hardest thing. When I've created a place for that person and we're now way late in the game, I have no way to fill that place. I've walked away from other potential opportunities because that student was going to fill that place for me, and I've lost the window, and the window is a year. Remembering that all summer we are very active working with the universities, preparing, getting into the schools in the fall, and all the events that we are a part of to fill that spot that you committed to and that you now need to back out of. I will have to wait till the next school year to have that opportunity to fill that exact hole again. The other thing to keep in mind when that happens is you have some classmates who very well could have had that opportunity for that position had it still been available. Or even if you were still in the vetting process, the employer could have continued to look at other students and open up their recruiting to a bigger pool again. So a couple of things to be mindful of so that there's that window for the right thing to be able to happen after you've left that void and the employer wants to and would be able to do something to fill it. I really want to share an example so that it will resonate with you, I believe, the one that I have to share. Just this last school year at Utah State, in the fall, we met a really bright young man, one of the brightest young men of my school year of recruiting, for sure. We thought the world of him. We went through the process with him. We made an offer and he accepted an offer, probably somewhere by about the middle of November. Things were good. We were excited. He was going to come on board right around the first full week of May, as soon as school was out. We make it a point to stay in touch, to have touches along the way. After a couple of months of touches, we started to be ghosted by this student. And sometimes it's just a matter of a student getting really busy, and we understand that, and they're in their last semester of school. So we weren't hugely concerned, but it was a little bit of a red flag. We would get a little bit of communication back, but we weren't really able to meet up with him again through that next semester coming into springtime. We got to the week before he was to start, and I received an email. The email, when it opened up on my desktop, the title was something like better job offer. And when I saw that it was from this student and I saw the title, of course, I don't have any backstory and my heart just sinks, because we were 4 days away from him showing up at this location for this position that we had reserved specifically for him. I open it up and he simply tells me that something else came up. He felt like it was too good not to pass up. It wasn't really something he had sought out, but he was going to go ahead and take it. And that was the end of the email. I was really disappointed, but I was much more disappointed that it came in an email like that. It feels disrespectful when we've gone through this process and put so much work into this. And I felt like I really deserved a conversation with him. So, true to who I am, which is to always be honest and upfront with somebody, and to hopefully create a window for teaching, I responded to his email and thanked him for letting me know, told him, I was, of course, disappointed, but knew he needed to do what was right. And then I simply said, I would like to share with you a perspective from my side. And it may not resonate with you today, but I believe someday it will. And you'll say, oh my gosh, I should have been more sensitive. And so I explained to him how important it was to me, or it would have been to me, for him to pick up the phone, give me a call, and have the discussion, and just be honest and open about how it happened and what happened, and that I could have the opportunity to know, rather than perceiving, what his feelings were on all of this. Told him that I hoped it was something he could learn from. I wanted him to, if that was my last interaction, I wanted it to be that I could help him learn something, I hope. He did call me after that, and we had an incredibly good phone conversation. He explained a couple of things on a personal level that factored into the decision he made, and where that put him in a market that was better for him personally. And I couldn't argue. I understood completely where he was coming from. I was proud of him for being thoughtful. I knew he was doing the right thing for him and his family. But I also knew that this conflict for him had started 2 or 3 months earlier. So he really could have helped me out by coming to me and at least just saying, hey, I'm having some second thoughts here. I want you to know that so you can continue to look, but I'm not bailing on you yet. And we both could have continued to do the process had he just done that one thing. But because he called me back and we had the conversation we had, the thing he was going to do is a little bit of a startup situation, and it may or may not work out. I felt strongly enough about him, and now this phone call we had just had, that I opened the door back up, that if he got a couple of years down the road and wanted a reset, I would love the chance to talk to him again and see what we could do to put something together. And that if he ever needed anything in the meantime, he could call me, and I would help him however I could based on what he needed. So it turned into something that the renege for him was a great learning experience, and it left a door open for something down the road. It wasn't the end of the world. He felt like it would be, which is why he approached it with an email. But in reality, he learned that to be very open in communication was the better way to go. I think that's it for my part. If I understand right, we're going to do some questions now.
Yes, absolutely.
And in the hot box, right?
Of course. Well, I mean, first and foremost, you talked about how that conversation was was really impactful. And based on that phone call, you decided to reopen that door for that student and now hopefully alum down the road. So in other situations, how can folks minimize damaging those professional relationships and preserve opportunities with companies that they're still maybe interested in, but circumstances just pulled them another way?
Yeah. So two things for me to answer that question. Number one is what I talked about in terms of he and I having that phone conversation. Having a good conversation with the right communication. Coupled with that, the number two thing is integrity to that conversation. Mm-hmm. Right? Be honest. Don't say some of the things that people say that they feel like make it easier. Just speak to you and your circumstance for why you need to do what you need to do. And in the world of adult decisions, we all make those from time to time. And we disappoint people sometimes with the adult decisions that we make that we're confident is right. So that integrity component of being honest and open is going to, if they're the right person, it's going to open opportunities for you later. If they still slam the door on you after that, then that's on them, right? It would never be on you. Then you probably would be doubled down, assured that you made the right decision to not go to work for them, because that shouldn't happen. It should allow for the future to be something that it could be.
Yeah, I completely agree. So in addition to those risks of maybe potentially burning a bridge, maybe an employer or the prospective employee shows those colors. In addition to those, what are some other risks or consequences that come about after someone backs out of a job offer?
I have to be honest and say that handled the right way, I don't think that there's many risks or consequences that become a big factor anymore. Again, if they do, if you've handled it the right way with integrity, I would now put that back on the recruiter, the potential employer, and not on the student. You may still have made the wrong decision, right? At 22 to 24 years old, it may still be wrong, but you're doing the best with what you've got. And you just have to be sure in yourself and what you're looking to do and what you're expecting to do. And again, if you're unsure, then you haven't done enough research yet. So don't pin yourselves to a decision, even that next decision, until you're absolutely sure you've got it right.
Do you have any examples of language students could use if they find themselves in this situation where they have to back out?
I've thought a lot about that, and by my nature, I'm not very strong on trying to come up with a scripted something, because I think from the integrity standpoint that I think so much of in these young people that resonates with who they are, I think it's just speaking truthfully. Mm-hmm. It can even be a little bit clunky and uncomfortable initially because it's a hard conversation to have, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just think it's speaking to the truth, being honest and open and genuine, that you appreciate the efforts that were made to come after you and to value you. Because when a recruiter comes into a university, there's hundreds to thousands of students that cross their path, and they still may narrow it down to just 20. And if they give you an offer, you might be one of two or three out of all those potentials. It speaks a lot to you as a student. So be very genuine back in gratitude and appreciation, and then honest about your circumstances.
I think it's great. Especially, we hope that folks don't get enough experience to be well-versed in these conversations, that they don't have to do that.
Yeah, you don't want to be a master of this conversation.
Exactly. So one question I love asking every guest that we have, and it's kind of a weird question given the topic, but are there any additional resources such as books or podcasts on reneging that you recommend that folks look into or check out?
Knowing that I was going to get asked this because you threw it up as an example, I recently read a book, and it's not to do with negotiating or getting out of an offer, any of those things. But I think it applies beautifully to you understanding who you are as a person and how to present yourself. Because what you're doing in almost all cases in this employment thing is you're joining somebody's team. Mm-hmm. And there's certain traits and characteristics that you want to understand about who you should be to come in and be a successful part of their team.
Yeah.
And so if you can learn some of these things about yourself as part of your education as a college student, you'll better understand how you will or may not fit into different cultures in the process of negotiating the job that you're going to take. So the book, I have it here because I'm literally reading it right now. I don't know if you can see it. It's called The Ideal Team Player. I'm reading it right now for my second time. I've actually just assigned it to all of my managers, and next week I have division manager meetings. We're going to discuss it because it really, there's 3 principles that it says every person on a team should effectively have as part of who they are. And they're all things that some may come by naturally, but they're all things I believe people who are determined to be an ideal team player can adopt. And it's really to be hungry, to be humble, and to be people smart. Those 3 things. Mm. And it's a fantastic book. If you've read it and you think from that perspective as you're going through the process, I think you'll better identify teams that help you realize where you fit in better. It's a great book for that.
That's awesome. So I hate to break the news to all the students watching. Homework and reading for development doesn't stop after you leave college. It continues on. I know we've read a few this summer as Huntsman staff and faculty, and ours was all about leadership and just determining your own style. And that rings true to you. And that sounds very... that aligns very well with.
Yeah. And the beauty of doing that today, and these students all know that, is I do most of it in the car. I travel quite a bit. So I get through a lot. And then if I love it, I buy the hardbound because there's material in there I want to have to dial down and literally have it in my hands afterward. So you can be efficient with your time. And, I love listening to sports, but I can turn that off and better myself with some good books.
So here's our annual plug for the USU Library.
Yes, that's right.
Well, once again, thank you, Duane, so much. I think this was a really great discussion of the topic. If folks haven't heard of reneging before this, surprise it exists, and it could positively or negatively impact your career. In terms of what's happening this semester, we do have the Career Expo happening Friday, September 22nd, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That's going to be here in Huntsman Hall. CED in one way, shape, or form will be there. So stop by their table. They come every year. It's a great conversation with recruiters. And leading up to that, we do have drop-in resume reviews. So you don't need an appointment with your career coach to get your resume all polished. You can stop by the start desk from September 11th through the 21st, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Go ahead and check out the Huntsman calendar for more events. We've got tons happening this semester and next semester as well. I'm sure CED will be on campus more than once, more than just the Career Expo. But I hope everyone has a great day, and go Aggies.
Go Aggies.